Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming here in the conference room in Budapest, and also welcome to the people following us live online. So for those of you who are now just joining us, my name is Ákos Felmeter. I am VP of Marketing. I've been working for Graphisoft for 18 years, and I have the privilege to walk you through all the new features and functionalities of Archicad 20 in the next 75-80 minutes. Actually, what we're talking about, not just new features and functionalities, but actually BIM workflows. I guess you would all agree with me that BIM is being pretty much standard used in design development and construction documentation. But wouldn't it be great to extend the benefits BIM can bring to the building process till the end of the life cycle of the building, construction and operation? I guess return on investment of all the works that you put upfront into building a model would pay off much better that way. But also, I think maybe less obvious, wouldn't it be great to start creating an intelligent model as early as possible, maybe from the very first moment? That would give us much more control over the design during the entire workflow. So, the good news is that today we're not just talking about Archicad, but also other products and a full workflow, BIM workflow between these products from conceptual design till operation. Let's start our story at the beginning with conceptual design. So here comes the question, how you would combine the flexibility and creativity needed in concept design with the structure and processes necessary to create a BIM model. The answer may come to a surprise to some of you, but it's very simple. There is a new concept, a trending design methodology called Algorithmic Design that can help us bring the benefits till the very beginning of our process. This is not just a one-way road. It's not a data transfer or something like that. It's a very deep integration of two independent environments. You will see how powerful that is demonstrated by Laura Barotti, our product designer for this connection. Laura, please.
Thank you, Ákos. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you like the video with all those delicious muffins, showing the benefits of algorithmic design through the everyday example of cooking. But let's now see how algorithmic design can make life easier for architects. I will show this through a couple of simple but pretty typical workflow examples. The first of them is the Greenfield Project. The life of a new building usually starts with a vision. Sketched by the lead architect, something like this. Imagine a shiny space-like tower with curved surfaces. The next step is to find the shape that fulfills this vision. The form-finding process is usually done with the help of free-form modeling computer applications. The most popular of these today is Rhinoceros. So let's follow this path and model the envisioned tower in Rhino. First, I will create a simple curve in Rhino. Next, I elevate and rotate its duplicate. I repeat this step to have a third curve, which I will also scale a bit. Once I have all three curves, I use the loft command to create a free-form surface between them. Let's see the result. Now, I think it's quite similar to the sketch, is it? But the first guess is rarely the last one. We know that. Architects spend a lot of time with design iteration and experimenting with the shape. This process, of course, could be done in Rhino. So I could go in here and create several more versions of this shape until I can pick the right one. But there is a better way. Using Grasshopper, the Algorithmic Design add-on for Rhino. Now, for those who are not familiar with this design environment yet, let me give a short intro. As an example, I will recreate the tower shape from scratch in Grasshopper. Now, in Grasshopper, there are nodes, small boxes like this. These are the building blocks of the algorithmic definition. They can be containers or operations. With this one, for example, I can create reference to the already existing Rhino curve here. So if I select this node, you will see this curve gets highlighted, indicating that the description of this geometry is now stored by this box. Now, there are other nodes in Grasshopper that can process the stored information. To accelerate my work, I have prepared this small definition here, which does exactly the same I did in Rhino before manually. Let's see if it works. It will elevate, rotate, and scale the initial curve. Those are our curves now. Now, as a next step, I need to loft those curves, just like I did in Rhino. In Grasshopper, I will do this with this loft node right here. So let's connect the curves to the node one by one. Well, the result in Rhino, it's quite similar to the initial tower shape that I modeled in Rhino. In this case, however, I have access to the benefits of algorithmic design, and so I can fine-tune the tower shape whenever I want with the help of the parameters, thus speeding up the design iteration process fundamentally. So let's just adjust the torsion of the tower and its height a little bit. Well, at some point, architects need to move on to the next stage of design when the shape is turned into a building with real structures. Traditionally, the workflow was broken here because the chosen shape had to be cut off from its algorithmic source and had to be remodeled in an independent CAD or BIM environment. Now, this is a huge issue for architects because they want to have the freedom and flexibility throughout their design project, or at least as long as possible. Now, let me show you how Graphisoft has solved this problem by developing a brand new connection between Grasshopper and Archicad. Now, let's get back to our example here. We wanted to turn this shape into a building. As a first step, let's create stories within this shape. To have the outlines of the slabs, I need to slice this shape. This node here in Grasshopper does exactly that. So as soon as I connect it to the shape, it will generate these blue outlines for us. And with this number slider here, I have access to the distance of those outlines. Now let's see the Grasshopper Archicad live connection in action. I add an Archicad slab node to the Grasshopper code and connect it to the outlines. As a result, brand new native Archicad elements are generated within seconds. Look at them. They are just the right shape, just like we wanted, and more than that, they are clickable, fully functional BIM elements. I can even bring up the settings dialog to check their parameters. And what do you think will happen if I grab this number slider here? The Archicad model adapts to the changes real time because the generated elements, they associate it to the algorithmic code. And note that I didn't have to save any kind of files to transfer the information because Grasshopper and Archicad are talking to each other directly live. Now we have all these lovely slabs, which is great. But you know, slabs are quite simple elements. Let's see if we could do anything more complex with our solution here. What about creating a skin for the building? So you could figure, I have prepared a small code for this as well. There it is. Now, you may think, Well, this seems to be quite complicated. We have to manage all those boxes and wires and connections. But believe me, it's not that complicated. No programming background is needed, really. So I'm an architect, like most of you in this room, and I can tell you that algorithmic design can actually be fun. Now let's see how our new nodes work, connected to the rest of the code, and of course, Archicad will start to place all the necessary elements to create an awesome new skin for the building. Wow. Now, that's great, but let's say we would like to change the material every second panel in this facade. Architecture is not only about geometry after all. Fortunately, the Grasshopper Archicad Live connection has a solution for this as well, although, of course, I could do this manually through the settings dialog as usual. But with the Grasshopper connection, it will be much quicker, you will see. See this small box here? It gives access to all of the building material attributes that are currently present in our connected Archicad project. So we only need to browse through the familiar palette and pick the right material. Let's say it should be glass, because we want to have transparent panels. And remember, now we are in the Grasshopper window, and still we have access to project-specific Archicad data. So let's select glass and connect it to the rest of the code. Of course, Archicad will do the changes for us within a blink of an eye. Every second panel is transparent now, just like we wanted. Well, I hope you agree that the model now starts to look like a building. And at this point of the workflow, architects could be proud of the project, because everything has been going fine so far. The model is looking great, and even some cool renderings can be created. However, in real life, that's the moment when the client calls with some brand new ideas about, let's say, changing the cross-section of the whole building. Like this. Maybe he wants to have some more, square meters for rent. That happens. Now, what can we tell to such a client? If we have the Graphisoft, Grasshopper, Archicad Live connection, we can say no problem, because we only need to go back to our initial curve, change its content, and hold our breath. Now let's see what Archicad has done in the meantime. Wow, it has already finished the job for us. So, as you can see, the cross-section is just like the client wanted. So, you might wonder now, well, this solution kind of seems to be quite useful, for blobby architecture. But what about the more standard-looking buildings, the majority of the projects? Now let's move on to my second example, which is a conventional office project. There it is. In this case, everything started in Archicad. So the early phase BIM model has already been created, and as a next step, we would like to add a new unique shading system to the facade. Wouldn't it be great to utilize the same algorithmic capability of our new connection solution here as well? Well, I have created the Grasshopper code, but in this case, I won't use Rhino at all, because I only need to pick 2 coordinates from my Archicad project. So remember, I am now referencing Archicad geometry. And as soon as, or soon after, I define those coordinates, the new shading system will, will appear in Archicad. And with the help of our parameters here, we can fine-tune the pattern anytime, again, saving huge amount of design iteration process. Now, this example showed you that algorithmic design can fit into your workflow, even if you are basically doing design in Archicad, and you would like to use it for only a particular part of your project. Well, still, after these two examples, you might have the impression that this Grasshopper Archicad connection thing is only good for generating interesting geometry. In fact, however, it is highly useful in any design case where logic is needed. In my last example, I would like to prove you that. In our office building, there is an auditorium. But it's not furnished yet. Of course, we could do this in the usual way, just placing elements and rotating them so that they face the stage. But it would be a quite time-consuming, tedious, and repetitive task. Let's instead apply the power of algorithmic design here as well. And only 2 clicks, our chairs are visible in our Archicad model. Now let's have a closer look. Do you like those chairs? I think the atmosphere is rather gloomy in this room. I mean, not this room, but in the model. But let's see what we could do. The good news is that thanks to the Grasshopper Archicad Live connection, we have access to the parameters of the library parts, even the custom ones. I only need to open a dialog in Grasshopper, select the parameters that I would like to control from Grasshopper, and as a result, the controlling node will be extended with the desired new input parameter, and so I have access to its value. Now, what color would you prefer for our chairs? Let's pick something nice and bright and check the result. Well, it has helped a bit, but let's move on to the next topic now, data. Since we're architects, we need to keep an eye on data from the earliest phase of design. In this case, we need to know exactly how many people can fit into this room. Since we are building here a full-fledged BIM model, this information is available automatically. We only need to open the schedule and check the number. It's 118 now. It won't be enough. The clients want more. Well, what can we do? Thanks to the Grasshopper Archicad connection, we can easily fix these tasks by simply going back to the parameters and adjusting some of them. Let's, as a start, decrease the distance between the chairs. Well, apparently, it has indeed increased the number of the chairs in the room. Let's check the number. It's 148 now. It still won't be enough. The clients want to host a KCC in this auditorium, maybe. So we have to do something else. Let's give a try to this other number slider here. Well, as you can see, it had a huge impact on the number. How is that possible? If we check the model, it is obvious that not only the chairs were arranged by the Grasshopper model, but the whole auditorium was constructed by it. So by merely changing a single value in our Grasshopper definition, we could remodel the whole auditorium from scratch. Well, that was quite useful, don't you think? And well, I guess there is no time for more examples, although we were barely scratching the surface of possibilities here. But I hope even these simple use cases could show you how much benefit the new Grasshopper Archicad Live connection can bring to architects. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. I guess you agree with me that by combining by combining two of best-in-class solutions, true magic can happen. Now, as a recap or summary of this part of the presentation, I would like to call your attention that by changing the previous traditional sequential workflow to a more iterative, overlapping workflow, we could really achieve true BIM benefits, better design quality in shorter time. Maybe one last question remains here. You would wonder why Graphisoft chose to partner up with the McNeil company to provide you such a solution, algorithmic design solution in BIM. We could have also chose to develop it on our own as well, inside Archicad. I have a question, though. I guess you agree Grasshopper is the best algorithmic design solution out in the market today. Is that correct? Yes. So, Graphisoft wants to deliver you only the best in the shortest possible time. So this was our only option to deliver. But there is one more layer to it. If you think a little deeper, then Grasshopper's core capability is algorithmic design, whereas we could only just develop one feature inside Archicad. So even on the long run, this live connection with the level of deep integration we are delivering gives you a sustainable competitive advantage as well. And last but not least, Rhino users, Grasshopper users love their tools, just like Archicad users. And we don't want to force anybody to ditch their favorite tool. So by connecting these two best-in-class solutions, we are just giving another example of true open BIM integration to the market. Thank you. Let's move on now with our workflow demonstration, and let's focus on the core Archicad functionality here. If you recall our introduction video, then you can agree that the emphasis is going to be on information. Even in the morning session, Patrick McClamey of HOK taught us that information is not just put inside BIM. Actually, the model is a window to information. So information carries the true value of BIM. So let's have a closer look how we can store, manage, and share this information. Information is plentiful. And a vast majority is coming from the model directly. So this is geometrical information, like height, length, volumetric information, etc. As we move along the way with our process towards construction and maybe even operation, this information is becoming more and more heavy. So as the level of detail increases, your tool has to be able to carry that amount of information. That's challenge number one. Challenge number two is that not all information is coming from the model directly. So there are even more information maybe which is related to the model, but not geometric directly, like cost or specs or descriptions. They all need to be connected to the model, but they will not come from the model. And challenge number three, maybe, is that all this information are not maintained by one single person. Rather, it's coming from different sources, even maintained in different applications. So our challenge here is to put all these things together into the BIM, because BIM's primary purpose is to hold information and coordinate. For this complex process, I would like to call on stage my colleague Tibor Szolnoki, who is our senior product manager. So Tibor, please demonstrate.
Thank you, Akos. Thanks. Hello. Hello, everyone. So let's talk about I in BIM. Okay, I can see some desperate faces. Not again, information. We are talking about this topic too much, but I can guarantee something. By the end of this 50-minute presentation, you're going to see that information in BIM is not just useful, but it's also beautiful, at least in Archicad. So you will see that. You can take my word on that. Okay, so let's switch to Archicad 20, and let's talk about information history in Archicad. As you all know, information has been prevalent in Archicad from the very beginning. We are able to handle large set of geometrical data in the Archicad tool sets, so it's not a problem for us. But in the recent years, we see that there is an increasing need for something which is not visible. It's called metadata, non-geometrical data, something like construction information, cost, manufacturer data, and so on. So there is somehow a need for a central management interface where we can easily access these properties. So that's why I would like to introduce a brand new framework in Archicad 20, which is dedicated for this purpose. And not surprisingly, it is called Property Manager. So let me open this dialog for you, and just very briefly, it won't hurt, I can promise you. I just show you what is the underlying concept of this brand new framework. So, Property Manager, as the name suggests, we are working with properties here. Properties are metadata, non-visual, non-geometrical data. Just to give you a clue what is included in here, I'd like to just zoom in, and let me just mention some of those categories that you can see on the left side. So all these properties are organized into easy to understand logical groups, very easy to manage, very easy to understand. So what we have there, general ratings, product information, manufacturer data, packaging. So the good news is that you don't have to waste time by creating all these properties. It comes with Archicad 20 by default. And of course, if you need more, you can create your own custom properties using this dialog. So it's really easy to handle, easy to use. And just to give you a clue of what is included in such groups, let's see the general ratings as an example. And there I will use this example, the fire-resistant rating property. I will use this example in my demonstration later on. So what do we know about fire-resistant rating? Actually, it's a quite special property because it can have multiple values. 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 120 minutes. So actually, in Archicad 20, we can support a drop-down list, which is easy to handle. And of course, if you need more values, you can add this on your special projects. So that is how we can handle properties. But there's another challenge, is that all these properties should be carefully matched with the corresponding tools. Not all these properties should be available for all these tools. That's why we have this availability panel right here, where we can very precisely, very easily assign these properties to certain elements, even entire groups. So for example, if I choose the general rating group, and I would like to assign it to all the walls, all I need to do is tick here, and from this point on, these properties will be an integrated part of the Archicad BIM model. So it's that simple. This is really a nice framework for managing metadata in Archicad. Now let's return to our model, and let's assign values for the building elements. I would like to assign this fire-resistant rating value for walls. How do I want to do that? Do I want to do it manually? Of course not. And of course, in Archicad, there are beautiful tools. They're very handy and very productive tools for a long time. One of my favorites is probably, you know this, the Find and Select tool. With the Find and Select tool, we can have intelligent criteria. For example, search for exterior walls in the entire project. And then, with a single click, I can choose all the walls. And then, I can use the brand new property, which is now available in the tool setting dialog, just like any other regular parameter. It's simple as that. So, it's already here. And I will choose 60-minute fire-resistant rating. Okay? So, this is how we manage and add values to properties in Archicad. Now the question is, how can we check it? The problem with these metadata is that it's invisible. It's very, very difficult to show it. But actually there is a tool which can help us, and this is probably your first choice for checking your model, and this is the interactive schedule. So let's just open an interactive walls schedule. And let's see what we have here. And of course, zooming in will show you that some of those walls already have this 60-minute rating assigned. So that's very good. But if you're a long-time Archicad user, you can also notice something else. Are there any Archicad veterans in the room today? I can see quite many. So probably I've already noticed what I would like to show you. These are these beautiful previews over here. So these previews have been available for interactive scheduling in previous Archicad versions too, but only for the library parts. In Archicad 20, we opened this capability for all the tools, for the walls, for columns, beams, and I think this is not just beautiful, as I promised you, but it's also a great way for communicating with other parties, so it makes the communication more straightforward, less errors, and more streamlined. So that was Property Manager and properties. But Ákos was talking about another challenge, the source of information. And typically we see that this metadata, or properties, no matter how we call it, is coming from an external source. It is not the architect's responsibility to define these, but most of the time it's coming from consultants, from external parties, people who are not using BIM. And this is a real challenge. So what are they using? I can show you what is the favorite tool of these people. These long Excel spreadsheets, which we don't like. I mean, Archicad users, we are not really a fan of this, but still we have to deal with these spreadsheets because that was the primary source of information and the primary way of communicating data. So, what did we do here to make this workflow more fluent and more convenient and more fun? Let me add this. For this, I will use an example which is called door schedule, doors. And doors are manufacturer products. So it's typically the door manufacturer's responsibility to provide data like sound transmission class, thermal transmittance, article numbers, purchase price, and so on. So what was the workflow so far? Well, it's all started in Archicad. We were able to export these Excel empty interactive schedules to Excel spreadsheets. We could send these Excel files to our manufacturer. They could fill it up with data. But here, the workflow was broken. The poor architect had to open the Excel file in Excel and then type in this data, these values, into the Archicad model. This is not something that I call revolutionary or easy to use. So what do we want to do instead of this? What do we want? I think it's very simple. We just want Archicad to do the job for us. And I have very good news for you. With Archicad 20, we can import property values directly from an Excel spreadsheet. I will show you right now. Just look at this. These are those values that will come into Archicad. At least this is the promise. We will see if it works. You can even make last-minute filtering. So if you don't want to bring in all this data, you can turn it on, turn it off, and then, without any further explanation, I just import it and see what's going on in Archicad. It's all done. Actually, I think it really worth the applause because I think it's it's a revolution in data communication in BIM world. So we can really be proud of this solution. And also our users will be very happy with this. So that's Excel spreadsheets integration into Archicad properties. But that leads us to another question. Our users are primarily architects, and many of them are design architects. So does this mean that we have this great capability of handling a large amount of data in Archicad? So does this mean that the architects have to deal with data themselves? Do they have to manually take care of all this information with each and every element in Archicad? I know quite a few of these architects, and I can guarantee that they won't be very happy if they would have to manage all that information themselves. What they want, really, is the ability to use kits of parts, like Lego bricks, that are already including this information themselves. And actually, there is a tool in Archicad which is used for this purpose, and it's called the Favorites tool. With the favorites, we can save parameters. At least this was the case with Archicad 19. And here you can see the Archicad 19 interface of favorites. How does that look like? Well, to be honest, it looks like a boring Excel spreadsheet. It's a long, long Excel spreadsheet. That's something that we don't like. Why architects don't like it is because it's not graphical. It's not visual. Architects want pictures. They want to see nice previews, because one picture can tell more than 1,000 words. So that's why I would like to show you a revolutionary new solution in Archicad 20, which is called the graphical favorite. So ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, let me open the graphical favorites for you. Okay, at first it looks like an Excel spreadsheet. But here comes the big improvement, or the nice solution, that we can have thumbnails. We introduce thumbnails. It's not big enough for you? Okay. We can make it even bigger. Now that's what I call fun. Fun to use. And also very graphical. So, but are there any BIM managers sitting in the audience tonight? Yeah, I was pretty sure. This is a KCC event, so there must be power users here. So I can already see that your brain is working hardly and asking this question: how will I be able to manage all these previews myself? Do I have to do it manually? Like if I have thousands of these favorites in my company template, how will I be able to update them all the time? Well, again, a good news for you, Archicad will do the job. All you need to do is just edit one of these favorites. For example, I will choose a different composite structure. And using OpenGL, Archicad automatically update the previews. That is, again, a real productivity improvement. In certain design scenarios, 2D previews would be more useful. And we can also switch that with a single mouse click. Furthermore, using a control click, you can switch between 3D and 2D views. So I think it's really a convenient way to understand what are these actual favorites are used for. But of course, again, there is an additional question. Whenever there's a new solution, there are always questions coming in. So the question regarding these big previews, that they take away quite a large portion of your useful screen area. So do I have to keep this palette, this favorite palette, open all the time? Well, if you wish, you can do that, but there is another solution which I think is more convenient. All these favorites are available right at the fingertips whenever you do something. For example, when you create new elements, from the tools, they came up like a pop-up palette. And of course, these are filters, so only the relevant favorites are visualized for that particular tool. Or furthermore, when you're editing an element, so there's a selection and you're editing an element, you can access them from the info box, even better. So I would say favorites is really handy, really easy to access, and for the average architect, that's the way to manage favorite elements, plus also information, because information and data is stored with these favorites. And I can tell you that I started to use this favorite tool myself, and after a few days, I ended up having quite many of these favorites, because it's pretty easy to use. The problem is that when you have lots of these favorites, you need to organize them. And of course, you want to organize them in a way which is easy to learn, which is convenient for any people. And I think this is just, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is the tree structure of the operating system. So in Archicad 20, we also have these folders, subfolders, like a tree structure, just like in an operating system. There's no need to learn it because it comes natural. Plus, you can even have the ability to multiple selection and just drag and drop. That's the most simple way to organize your favorites into these folders. Drag and drop, filtering. I think it's beautiful. Don't you agree? Okay, but we were talking about information access and information management. So we still need more tools to be sure that we can manage large portion of favorites. And that's why we introduced a brand new intelligent smart search filter in favorites. Just to prove that, I will type in exterior. And what's happening is that not only exterior walls are displayed, but any element that has an exterior in its description, even if they are located in different folders, different tools, they're coming in a large incorporated list. And what about properties? What about data? What about something that is not visual, even from these nice preview pictures? How can we access that information? To prove that, I will type in 60 minutes. Remember that? Fire-resistant rating. All these favorites are having 60-minute fire-resistant rating assigned. I think this is really a powerful feature for the BIM managers. So BIM managers, you can be very happy today. Okay. But let's return to our initial track. I was talking about properties, property management, information, and so on. So let's return to this topic. Now you can be sure that Archicad 20 is just a great information management tool. Problem is that information in itself is useless if you're not able to share it with other parties in an easy-to-understand, structural way. If it's not graphical, if it's not communicable, then it's just useless. So how can we help here? A typical example, fire-resistant rating. This is my favorite topic today. It is very difficult to show something which is not visible. So how can we show a property which cannot be visualized? Actually, you can graphically display those elements that are associated with this property, with this parameter. And we had a solution which was quite similar to this. This was called the renovation filters. But we decided that we go further and we introduce a more flexible, more generic solution for this purpose. And this is called graphic overrides. So in the next couple of minutes, I will talk about graphic overrides. So what do I want to do regarding these fire-resistant ratings? I would like to show them. Maybe what would be the easiest way? Maybe color them. Let's color those walls which have this fire-resistant rating assigned. So for this reason, we introduced these graphic override combinations. Just very briefly, here I have created a couple of these combinations, but let's choose fire-resistant rating, which I created for the sake of this demonstration. As you can see there, it's a very intelligent tool. We can combine quite many graphic override rules. For example, we have 30, 60, 90, 120 minutes. And for each one, I assign different colors for the floor plan and to the 3D, for the pans and for the 3D surfaces. If you are interested in, I can show you the 60-minute one. So I can just open Edit Rules. And there you can see that here we can use intelligent criteria. Let's search for all the elements which have this fire-resistant property assigned. And if you have that, if you find these, let's override the pen with this orange one. Or in 3D, let's override the surface with an orange color. It's simple as that, easy to use. And the very good thing is that this can be saved with the views in the view map. So you don't have to deal with it. Average Archicad user don't have to deal with it. It's the BIM manager's task to deal with these settings. So let's choose this fire-resistant rating now, and let's see the result. It's all painted orange. I told you, data can be beautiful, so you can take my word on that. But what about 3D? Of course, whatever we do in Archicad, we want to do it in a 3D manner, in a real BIM fashion, so it also works in 3D as well. But maybe you have noticed something else. Some of those materials, some of the surfaces are still showing the original colors. Why is that? Because values or data is missing for those elements. This fire-resistant rating value is not assigned. Again, the reason for this is that this is typically coming from an external source. This is coming from a fire engineer or a fire protection engineer. How would you like to assign that data? Okay, probably you already guessed that I will use this revolutionary new Excel solution. Let's just use what we have learned so far and which you liked very much. So let's just import fire ratings coming from the fire engineer. Again, you can filter if you wish, but I don't want to do it now. I just want to bring it in. Let's see what's happened. Colors. Easy to understand. Each color, different fire-resistant rating category. Okay, and what about those companies who already adopted the BIM workflow? What about those companies who are frequently using on their daily basis IFC? Well, even for those, I have very good news. Well, we have a new baby in an amateur group of companies, Solibri. Probably many of you are using this wonderful solution for model check-in, IFC model check-in. This is called Solibri Model Viewer and Model Checker. And there, you can see that these graphic overrides can be sent with an IFC file. If you create BREF files, you can send them over to your consultant, so they can also be sure about our design intent. And also, if you're carefully matching or mapping properties with IFC properties, you can even send these fire-resistant ratings to the model. So there's no way to make mistakes if you use IFC. This is the better solution. That's the future, which is happening already. Okay, now let me return back to Archicad, and from the rest of the presentation, I just want to give some food for thought. I just want to give some ideas of how you can use this great solution, the graphic overrides and the properties. And I know many of you, and I know you are a very creative person. Sometimes you are so creative that you're using our tools for something which is not intended for. And this is absolutely right. We love this because that's the advantage of Graphisoft and Archicad. It's very flexible. So I would like to just show you some of the possible use cases of graphic overrides and properties. And of course, you can, when you leave this the room today, you can create your own use cases. So the first one is structural planning. And here, the architects would like to show the load-bearing elements to the structural engineer. In previous times, they were using this black marker pen. So with this black marker, they just streamlined or colored the load-bearing walls. Here, we don't have to do it anymore. We can just use a simple graphic override combination, which can be saved with the view. So I will just choose this one, and everything in the background is grayed out. Only the load-bearing elements will be shown. I think, again, this is a very common use case, which is very useful. But what about the later stage of the building life cycle? In the morning, we have seen presentation about the importance of the facility management. That is typically 60% of the building life cycle is spent with facility management. So what can we do here? How can we use this graphic overrides combination? For example, what you can show here are the Archicad zones. These are typical Archicad zones by their function. That's by default how we show them. This beige color means office rooms. However, when it comes to tenant management or lease management, we would like to use the same zones without copying them or without creating them, just the same zone with different colors. And this can be achieved, again, with the graphic overrides. Each and every color means different tenants. Very simple. Or what about marketing, creating nice marketing materials? Gabor Boyar, from one of the founders of Graphisoft Park, probably will be very happy with this. This is Graphisoft Park, and I would like to create a nice brochure. I would like to show the different construction phases of the park. How can I do that? All I need to do is just change a view, and each and every view has the construction phase or development phase assigned. Simple. So far, I was using graphic overrides for showing data, for showing invisible data. But we can also use it for a very simple purpose, to make nice presentation, to make nice conceptual design drawings. And actually, in Archicad 19, we had a great solution for creating white renders. In Cine Render, there was this little option which I liked very much, with which you could create single still images, white render images. Now, in Archicad 20, we can go much further, and actually, with a single click, we can create navigable white models, like this one. And again, you don't have to change each and every material one by one. It's not magic, it's just a single click with the graphic override. Plus, you can even change your favorite building material. I can imagine that when I was at the university, one of my favorite modeling tools was cardboard. It was cheap, But of course, it was very dangerous because with the cutter, you could cut your fingers. In Archicad, it's not that dangerous. It's very safe. It's just one click of a mouse, and it's all there. And again, it's live navigable model. So finally, just to finish my presentation, a question. Would you believe that you can even use these graphic overrides for model checking, for elementary or basic BIM auditing? Yes, you can even do that. I will prove you now. So let's say that I would like to find in this large building, in the Graphisoft building, those doors that are not matching or not complying with the local standards. Doors where the egress size is smaller than 90 centimeters. How can I do that? Shall I open an interactive schedule list? No. Again, I can use graphic overrides. So I painted or highlighted all these doors that have to be checked with red color, and everything else is transparent. So, how do you like it? Yeah? Okay. So, basically, this was my presentation. I hope that now you also share my vision that information in Archicad is not just useful, but it's also beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tibor. I hope Tibor could convince you that information can not just be useful, but beautiful as well. And I guess we have also need to prepare to a little change in how we look at BIM now. Our favorite, beloved three-letter acronym needs a little change, I guess. So it's not just modeling anymore. It's building information management. Thank you very much. I'm not sure how closely did you follow Tibor's presentation, but there was something else looking great, not just information or data. Did you recognize anything strange? Archicad had a brand new user interface, and probably if you didn't realize, that's a good sign because user interfaces function well if they don't go into your way. So they are familiar, friendly, efficient, and clean. But they look also modern and fresh. So let me briefly explain to you what we did to the Archicad 20 UI, because whenever we change anything in the software, it has a functional goal to it. User interface is no exception from that as well. So what we did was we sliced up to the UI to different functional layers and looked at each and every single one and looked for optimization. Because UI has to help work, has to help users better utilize the capabilities of the software. So the first layer, functional layer, is the background. Here you can see the placeholders of the controls. With the evolution of this place, the sizes of some of our controls are not appropriate anymore. So we looked where we need to change the sizes. Also, somehow the frames of our controls can be watched as too obtrusive, so we looked at how we can minimize the noise coming from this background layer. Also, with a little bit of optimization, we could remove some elements from the UI as well to give space to functional work. So, as the old maxim says, less is more. We could pretty much remove visual or graphical noise from the user interface. Next layer is the graphical interpretation of the complex topic of building elements. Here, the task is to find the best abstraction. So as an example, with our wall tool, we looked at 20 different ways to abstract, and also we looked back for some classics. So what you can see running on the screen now is Pablo Picasso, the famous modernist artist, who is the master of abstraction. So with a single line, he can depict a full bull here. So we took this example when we redrawn the user interface of Archicad 20. We ended up in very simple graphic language, just simple lines and simple colors, and we could repaint the whole interface with a much cleaner look as well. So this is how the new graphical elements look like, and I can tell you it's been a huge undertaking. More than 7,000 icons and controls need to be redesigned with this new methodology. So here, as a recap to the whole UI overhaul, this is Archicad 19 up on the screen, and this is Archicad 20. I guess with this move, we are also following one of the major trends in the computer industry right now. There are many different platforms with different software, mobile, desktop, server, stuff like that. And there is a cognitive gap in between these when users need to change, need to switch. So there is a tendency to converge these platforms, so is converging mobile and desktop user interfaces as well. So here with Archicad 20, we could move our desktop solution to our mobile solution, BIMX, very close. This is beneficial in many cases. So young people coming from the university, they come from mobile devices. Also, people new to BIM can much better understand all the workings of BIM here. So speaking of which, we arrived to the last phase of our workflow demonstration. And now we are in later stages when stakeholders not necessarily dealing with BIM models or BIM authoring tools need to get access to the benefits of BIM. Here comes very handy our connection to our mobile application BIMX through our BIM Cloud Server solution, which will be presented by our product manager, Gábor Kovács Palko.
Just a little housekeeping. All right. So Tibor used his Archicad to fill the model with lots of valuable information. Now I'm on the go. I have only iPad with me. I don't have Archicad. And I would like to access all this information. How is it possible? Let's go back to the model. This is the same model Tibor has created in Archicad. All the information is here, but where is it? Let's just select a wall, select its info tag. And as you can see, there are a large number of parameters here, including the fire resistance rating Tibor has added. Now, what can I do? I can go over element by element and check this information, but that would be boring. Wouldn't it be much better to have the same view as Tibor had in Archicad? Of course it would be. Don't be shy. Yeah, this is when you can wish. Let's see, iron 3D fire rating. Here it is. Looks exactly the same as it looked in Archicad. Even further, it looks the same as it looked in Solibri. Let me show you what you can do with BIMX. You can cut it into half, and you can also take a look at the internal structure of the building and check the internal walls for fire rating parameters. Now, there is no limit on the number of parameters you can put into the elements, but sometimes it's more practical to reference information at outside locations, external locations maintained by others. A typical example for this are product catalogs. This building, what you see on the screen, is using Schuko windows. The Schuko website has all the parameters, the hundreds of parameters of all the Schuko windows. So instead of putting all these parameters here into the BIMX model, all these elements have a link to the Schuko website. I can scroll to this link, tap it, And BMX fires up the browser, opens the Shuko website, where you can get all the information necessary for you. And it is maintained by Shuko itself, so I cannot make a mistake. It's Shuko who has to take care of it. You can customize these links. Thank you. These links can be added manually in Archicad. This can be added automatically, importing from an Excel sheet, or even further, if you use a product manufacturer library, these links might already be in your objects. In the next example, I will show you how third-party applications or databases can use the BMX model elements in the BMX model as a reference. So they can connect their information to the building information using BMX. Let's imagine the building has been completed, and I have the as-built model loaded on my BMX. I'm a facility manager of this building, and my morning starts all the time by going to my facility management application. I log in, enter my secret password, and then I get to the list of the tasks I have to complete today. You see, this is maintenance planning. This is what I planned for today. It's a long list. It starts with a fan coil. It says to me I have to replace a fan coil in one of the heating elements. I even know where this fan coil is. It's in a GD103 room. It's a meeting room. It's in Graphisoft building. And despite working there for 15 years, I don't remember where it is. So what can I do? This is when these links come in very handy, because I can just tap this link here. It fires up BMX right from REFM, and it navigates me to the fan coil I have to fix. You see? If I zoom out, it's indeed in a meeting room. It's indeed in a meeting room, and as you can see, there are two fan coils. But with the help of BMX, I'm not hesitating which one to fix, because it shows me. It makes me very, very effective. All right, in my last example, I'm on a construction site doing my weekly site inspection. For a construction site, I usually take only the most essential things with me. This is my rubber boots, my fully transparent rubber boots, and my iPad. During this site inspection, I was informed by the subcontractor who is doing the tiling on the site that they are running short on the tiles and they need help. They don't want me to carry the tiles to the construction site. They just want me to help to figure out how many tiles are necessary and also to arrange the shipment. Nothing could be simpler because I have BMX with me, and BMX contains the complete 2D documentation, dimensions, annotations. So I go to a floor plan, and then I realize that the floor plan areas are missing from the drawing. So, what can I do? I can use my old school measuring tape, run around the building, measure everything, or I can use the brand new measure tool in BMX. It's your call. I guess you mean BMX by clapping. Okay, so measuring tool, top right corner, I tap it, I get a nice cursor. I can position it to the corners of the room. I also get a small magnifying glass showing me the exact location. And I also get oops, a mistake there, but don't worry. So I also get the numbers live feedback on the screen, the side, the edge length, and also the combined surface. So this is it. Last corner, 140 square meters. All right, I have the number, but I have to deliver the tiles to the construction site. I don't do it myself. I have my friend Neil, he is the contractor, and we are a technologically advanced company, just like yours. We are running a BIM cloud, and both of us are using iPad. So I can just send a message to Neil, and he will get the message, start his truck, and go to get the tiles. So let me do that to show it to you how it works. New message. I want to send it to Neil Robertson. I want to attach a screenshot to make it easier for him to to identify what I'm talking about. Let's put some markup on it. G, love. OK. Save and send. Now this gets delivered to BIM-Cloud. Through BIM-Cloud, it gets delivered to his iPad. He starts his track, goes to Home Depot, delivers the ties to the construction site. All right, so let me just highlight you what happened here. I extracted some information from the building model, and I did it without using Archicad. Actually, neither of the workflows I showed here involved Archicad. So I hope I was able to prove you that BIMX and BIMX running on an iPad is an extremely powerful tool in the operation and the construction phase of the building as well. Thank you. There are two more things I want to show you. First one, I can hear you're thinking that, does this measure tool work in 3D as well? And of course it does. It works the same way. Magnifying glass position to the corners, and I get the same numbers running on the screen. See? This is how it looks like in 3D. Finally, it's a very powerful tool in the construction and facility management phase of the building, but we love BIMX as a wonderful presentation tool as well. So let me close my presentation with the 3D cardboard model Tibor used or created in the university, cutting his fingers sometimes. But let me show you what you couldn't do with the cardboard model in the university. Cut it into two halves, and then take a look at the internal structure and layout of the building. That was my part. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabor. Thank you, Gabor. I hope you all love BIMX just the way we do at Graphisoft. Definitely, some people do, or some people did, as we won a very prestigious awards last month by Architizer. So it was actually not a technology award, it was an architecture award, and we were the only technology company winning. And by the way, we won 2 of these awards, the jury award as well as the popular choice, which is the public voting award. With this, we could conclude our workflow demonstration for today. Please remember that information is the value in BIM, and we followed through information through the entire process.